Good evening, folks. A few things have happened today which I thought was worthy of spending a couple of minutes in front of the camera for a very, very quick briefing video. So, firstly, we had an email from HMRC today. I think they've sent it to every accountant in the country. It's quite interesting. It was addressed, "Dear colleagues," which I thought was interesting. We've never really considered ourselves colleagues of HMRC before, but that's where we are. I guess we're all in it together now. So basically, they're telling us that the portal for the job retention scheme, so for you to claim back the money on the staff that you furloughed, that's now going to be launched on the 20th of April. So a few weeks on Monday. And they've told us kind of what information the taxpayers are going to need on hand to put in there in order to get the claims back. Now, we can do that for you if we run your payroll. We'll have authority as agents to file it for you, but if you do your own payroll, then you'll need to log into the portal and do it yourself. The information that you need, it's fairly straightforward. You need your PAYE reference number, so that will be on any correspondence you've had with HMRC regarding payroll. If you're using software to prepare payroll, and you should be in order to do the RTI filings, then it will be held in that software. It'll be on payslips that you've sent to people. It should be a nice, easy to find reference. It will be something like 075/A11223, something like that. You'll also need to know the number of employees that you're furloughing. Well, obviously, you'll have that because you'll know exactly what kind of what you're after when you're going in to do the claim. So that's straightforward. The claim period, so that's the start and end date of the period. So that, I suspect, is going to be certainly for April. It'll be, if you've got guys furloughed now, it'll be the whole of the month. But if you furloughed people halfway through March, then it'll just be the start of that point. To bear in mind that the minimum length of furloughing is 3 weeks. So if you furloughed someone for a week in March, then you either put a claim in, I guess, for the period, that first week of March and the first 2 weeks of April, or you would put one longer claim in once we get to the end of April and kind of catch that week there. But you're not going to be able to go in and put a claim in just for that 1 week in March if you kind of closed down near the end of the month. You will need to know the amount claimed. So again, if we've been doing your payroll for you, then we've been putting that in as an 80% figure on your pay slips. But if you've been doing it yourself, you'll need to calculate the 80% figure that you're entitled to. So that's the gross pay of your employee. So anything before any PAYE and national insurance is deducted from them. It's also 80% of the employer's national insurance that you're charged as a business owner. And then it's also 80% of your contribution towards their auto-enrollment pension, if they're that. So it's a bit of a calculation to do. Like I said, if we're running your payroll for you, then we'll be able to give you those numbers. But if you're doing it yourself, then there's a calculation to be done. Do feel free to give us a call if you'd like a little bit of help. And then last but not least, you need to give them your bank account number so they know where to pay the funds to. They haven't, however, told us how long it's going to take them to send the money out. Now, I'm assuming that they are going to be on it and pushing these out as quickly as they can, but it's quite kind of noticeable in its absence any kind of timeline on between claims going in and payments going out. So that's where we are with the furlough scheme. That's a little bit more insight into where, how that's going to work. Obviously, once we've filed a few, we'll be able to probably give you a better update once we've kind of gone through and broken the system to make sure that it's working properly. Okay. So the other thing I thought was worth mentioning today, I'm just going to bring my notes up on my other screen. So I spent about 10 minutes today watching a Treasury Committee meeting on Parliament TV. I mean, man, the life of an accountant, right? It's all glamorous. The reason we did that was because they were talking about the self-employment scheme and the fact that I think all of the flack that they're getting now is from owners of owner-managed limited companies that are not getting the support that every other kind of taxpayer is getting because HMRC are not recognising dividends as part of income. And it really, actually, I watched it for about 10 minutes, just the bit that was relevant where they were talking about this, and it was quite it was eye-opening that there was a member of a Treasury minister there that was having explained to him how dividends work, and they were fairly adamant all the way through that dividends is not self-employed income. These people are not self-employed, and therefore the self-employment system, that scheme, is not catching them. And this Treasury minister just couldn't get his head around it. The reason I'm mentioning this is because it doesn't look to me like the conversations are happening to move this forwards at any kind of pace to get you guys that are owner managed companies any kind of support at this point. So that may change, and I'm sure there's lots of these committee meetings going on, but we got tipped off by the institute that it would be one that would be worth looking at because it had the right people there, and it was a bit of a non-event in the end. Nothing got decided on, and the conversation kind of went round in circles a few times and then died. Other things I picked up which I thought were interesting as well. 80% of HMRC staff are currently working at home, which is a phenomenal amount of people, and for their call centres to be operating even slightly like they were before is probably, we should probably give them a little bit of kudos for getting that up and running. They've said that because the furlough scheme is coming into place on the 20th, the portal's opening on the 20th of April, all customer facing HMRC staff are going to be pushed across to this furlough scheme helpline, which kind of worries me a little bit that they're not expecting the portal to do what it needs to do. But basically they're going to be putting out a lot of literature to taxpayers to basically say don't call HMRC unless it's to do with the job retention scheme or it's essential contact. So my thinking there is, if you were thinking you need to speak to HMRC about a time to pay arrangement, so if your corporation tax is due soon or your PAYE is due soon, and you were thinking you were going to give them a call to get a time to pay arrangement sorted, you want to do that before the 20th, because I don't think you're going to have much joy after that, purely because there's not enough boots on the ground for HMRC's point of view to take the calls. They've also said, hopefully it doesn't affect any of you, but they are closing any routine inquiry work for the time being. So if you've got an ongoing HMRC inquiry, then they're going to pause that unless you really want them to continue. They're going to pause that until we're out the other side of this, unless they think that it's serious or organised crime. I guess there's a caveat in there, but hopefully, like I said, that doesn't apply to any of you guys. So that's where we are as of today. We will update you as and when something else that's worth updating appears. Otherwise, stay safe, stay indoors. Remember, the NHS saves lives, but accountants save livelihoods. See you later.